Today we're gonna code lots with Mr. Kim Philpotts, and oh, how amazing you'll be.
Well, good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing? Hopefully people are well. And I'm back with another Xamarin.Forms UI challenge. So this is one that I've worked on a little bit in the past, but haven't done much work on recently. So I'm hoping to get most of this done today, if possible. So what we're having a look at is we're having a look at a really cool design that's done by Nyat M. Tran, which is over on Dribble. Let me post that Dribble link again in case anyone is interested in what we're working on. And I'm going to put this in GitHub as well. So let me just throw that GitHub link in there as well. Okay, so this is a pretty cool design. I really like this design. What do I like about it? I like these cool radio buttons that we have here. I like how it does this peak. I like this animation that happens as well when the user slides the page up to have a look at their order. So it's a pretty nice little UI. Now, we've done some work on this before, as I mentioned. So why don't we go over and have a look at the current state of things. All right, so here we are. Let's have a look. We've got our application here. So far, we've done a little bit of work on the different sizes. So we've got this this text over here. And as we switch between these, it does this cool little animation of the price over there. That's kind of nice. We like that. Okay, so, and what's interesting about this is these numbers sort of randomly change in different orders. So adds a little bit of a dynamic element to the price change. Now there's this add to bag button. We click on the add to bag button and it pops up our little peak area here. So at the moment, this is not showing the right information here. So we'll probably tackle that first, getting the right information down here. And then we also have this ability to slide this page up here. Now I think looking at the design is really about sort of swiping up. Okay, so what we might want to do there is we might want to adjust that a little bit so that instead of doing it on a sort of a pan as we drag, instead perhaps what we'll do is we'll make it so that you sort of flick it. Okay, and what we want is we want this bag to sort of follow it up the screen. All right, so let's get started. And if anyone's in the chat, say hi. And if you've got any questions, feel free to ask away. Don't be shy. All right, so let's get started on this. Let's come and have a look at our code. Well, actually, before we do that, let's flick back over here for a second. Let's have a little bit of a look at this in slow-mo, if you like. Okay, so I've just basically got that image there, and let's have a look at what happens. So first of all, we can see we select different prices. Beautiful. Does this animation here, like that. Just adjust that music level down. Okay. And then when we tap on the button here, this add to bag button, it actually does this cool little animation with a tick. So that's probably something that we'd end up doing with Lottie. So because it's a little bit hard to do those sort of animations just sort of natively. So probably have a look at Lottie for that. And then as this slides up, what we have is we've got this little page here which shows what's currently in the shopping cart and also the price over here as well. And that price also does a little animation in there as well. Okay, so it does the same sort of thing that this button up here does as well. Hey, Lachlan Gordon, how are you? Long time no see. Good morning. It's actually a really nice morning here in Melbourne. Lachlan says, how about a monkey? So, for those of you who are unaware, Lachlan and I have been doing some work on the weekly Xamarin application, and in that we have this monkey that like shakes a bottle, which is a fun part of the design. So probably, Lachlan, I won't put a monkey in this one because I'm trying to kind of be a little bit true to this design here. But, you know, maybe we'll find a place for a monkey. I can't discount it. All right. What else we got? So once we tap on that, okay, what happens? The user can swipe up. So you can see that they swipe up, and then that bag follows that pane as it goes up, which is pretty cool. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is just sort out these various levels, if you like. Lachlan, thank you for the 1 bit. I'm guessing you just emptied your account. All right. And that's about it. All right, so let's duck over. I'm gonna have to reacquaint myself with this code because it's been a while. But let's have a look at what we have. So first things first, let's get this so that it's no longer sort of a swipe up. Oh, Lachlan's got 296 bits left. Let's see if we can get some biddies. And instead of this sort of swiping up like this, let's just basically make it instead of sliding, let's make it a swipe, if you like. Don't poo-poo the penny. No, not at all, Lachlan. I appreciate every biddy. All right. Now, we actually played around with this earlier on, if I'm not mistaken. Let's have a look here. What I'm going to do is just sort of collapse down some of these areas here. So the basic layout that we have here, we have a couple of different layers, right? So we've got a grid, which encompasses the whole page, right? So basically grid goes across here, okay? And then what we have is we've got kind of two different controls, or two different views, right? We've got the My Bag view, okay, which is the one that's sitting here in the background. And then we've got the front card, which is this one here, okay? And we basically animate the position of those. Lachlan says, could I use the dock control from Community Toolkit for this? I have no idea. I've never looked at the dock control. I probably won't for today's, because we've already sort of done a lot of work with it. But let's have a quick look at it. Dock control, Xamarin Community Toolkit. I wonder if they've got a, is there a dock control? I'm assuming it would be under views. Do we have docs for this? Actually, it's in the docs, I think. Ah, Lachlan, good man, you've got a link for it. There's no docs on it yet. Let me... No, nothing so far. All right. Anyway, it's probably something worth having a look at, but just not something that I've looked at. So we'll park that one for a while. What I do plan on doing is actually, once sort of Maui and things start becoming a little bit more mature, try and migrate all of these designs that I do over to Maui and then see what we can start using out of things like Xamarin Community Toolkits instead of baking my own things all the time. All right, so we got our bag view, we got our front card. Now in our front card, down the bottom of the front card, that is actually where we have our thumb view, and this is where the gesture recognizer is, right? So at the moment we're using a pan gesture recognizer. So I'm going to get rid of that, right? And so this is something that we did in an earlier stream. And let's use the swipe instead. All right. And let's go and have a look at the code for this. Okay, so basically what we have is we've got our swipe up and we've got our swipe down, and it's using these animation states, right? So when we swipe up, it goes to the open, and when it's down, it goes to the peek view. All right, let's see, I've saved that, so maybe, yep, so now if I flick it, it goes up and down. Beautiful. All right, so what we need behind here in this state here is we need to, well, actually, first I should mention how these animation states work, right? So the way the animation state works is it just uses a little class that I have called animation state machine. And we basically just set up what things should look like in various states. So when I'm in the closed state, the front card is translated all the way down. When we go into the peek view, it sort of peaks up a little bit here. Okay, so it basically translates up a little bit. And then when we're in the open state, it sort of goes all the way up to the top of the page, minus a little bit. Okay, so that's basically the states there. Now, what we don't have at the moment is we don't have the ability to sort of close it back up. So we might want to implement that. That might be a nice thing to do. So basically what we want to do is we want to say, look, if this thing is here and we swipe down, let's close it. So let's do that as a starting point. So of course we can't just do the swipe down, just go straight to the peek view, because if I'm already in the peek view, I want to actually go to the closed state. So why don't we say if our animation states, right, dot current state equals page states dot peek, dot open, we'll go to peek view. Okay, so this is coming back. This is an object, so we probably want to do some casting of this thing. Okay, so that object is actually a page states. Maybe we need another bracket in here. There's always more brackets. More brackets are good. Okay, so we'll go to the peek state. Otherwise, let's go to anim states page state dot closed. All right, so hopefully what that will do for us is it means we can go through our 3 different states that we have. Again, reminder, just the states are just defined here in this animation state machine. Okay, let's see if this works. So we're in here, we go to this state, we swipe up, we go to open, swipe down, we go to peek, down again, we go to closed. Beautiful. All right, and then to open it back up, we add it to the bag. Lovely jubbly. All right, come on. A little bit easier to do with your finger. All right, lovely. So let's, we got that sort of sorted now. Why don't we have a look at this bottom section here and talk about and get this state going here. So this is kind of what I'm thinking with this one, right? So basically when this pops up, okay, we do a little bit of animation here. This will be interesting. Getting the most recent item sort of pops in. Okay, and what happens when the user swipes up? This disappears. This section here disappears, right? So it sits in place and disappears. So I probably don't want to have this on the same level as the My Bag, which floats in at the top, right? So we've already got this bit here, but it's just sitting there. So we need that to animate up. But we also want to have this thing here. So I'm going to perhaps suggest that we put in 3 layers here. We have our front card, we have our peek view, which basically just hides when we do that. And then we've got our My Bag view, which scrolls up or translates up at the same time that this pops up. So that's the strategy I'll use here. Now, whether it works or not is another thing entirely. All right. So what I'll do is...
Hey, we're gonna code lots with Mr. Kim Philpotts, and oh, how amazing you'll be.
Hey, Agaros. Welcome. Thanks for the follow. We're just working on some UIs in case you're not familiar with what we're doing here. So UIs in Xamarin.Forms. So cross-platform, C# goodness, C# and XAML. So Agaros, if you've got any questions, feel free to shout out. All right, let's come here. Let's have a look at the status of this. So we've got My Bag view. So we know about My Bag view. We're good with that. We've got our front card. Okay. Now, maybe what we want to do here is put perhaps another level in here, I think. All right. So we've got our content view here. Let's put in a peek details. So this is going to go into a grid. So we'll call this peek details. So for our peek details, what we want to have inside of here. Okay, so that's this bit here. I'm thinking that we'll have a grid here with 2 columns. Okay, this one taking up most of the space, this one just fitting, or an auto size in there. So let's set it up like that. So our peek details is going to have some column definitions using the cool column definition markup extension. So we have a star and an auto. We'll say, is it visible? It's true, yeah. Let's set the row spacing for this to be 0. And let's set this at the end, at the bottom. Okay, so we'll say that's at the end. Lovely. All right. So there's our peek details. Actually, what do we got here? We've got a problem here because both this and that are in a content view, and a content view can only have one thing. Okay, wait on. I'll just cheat here for a moment, and I'll stick this in another grid. It's a bit cheeky, I know, but let's do it. There's my little collapse buttons. All right, cool. So we're going to have peek details. Now, what do we want inside of here? All right. So for this one here, we're going to want to have something like a horizontal stack. Okay, because we've got our elements here. We could use a collection view, but there is something I've tried before, right? So what we need to do is we need to do an animation on the item here. And that's actually a little bit difficult with a collection view, I believe. Or at least I haven't found a good way of doing it. I can do it with a stack view. So that would be something we can do. Let's start with a stack view. Maybe we'll move it to a collection view later on. All right. So inside of here, in the first one, we're going to have our peak items. So I'll create myself. I'll actually wrap it in a scroll view. I think we'll put it in a scroll view so if there's more than fits down the bottom, the user can scroll them. So this is going to be in grid column 0. Okay, and this is going to be an horizontal scroll. Okay, and then let's put the actual content in here. So we'll have a stack layout. It's going to have an orientation of horizontal. Okay, we'll give it a margin. We'll give it probably some spacing. We don't want them to be spaced apart, so let's just put it as 0 at the moment. We want this to be at the end. So vertically, we want it to be at the bottom. So let's just say vertical options end. What else should we do? That's probably most of what we need there. But what we want is we want this stack layout to bind to the items in our shopping cart. So we can use the cool bindable layouts. So I'm going to say bindable layout, and we'll give it an item source. And in our view model, we have something called items, which is all the shopping cart items. So put items in there. Okay, we'll give it a height as well. Okay, just to be nice. Beautiful. All right, let's actually we're going to need to also give this that's not what we want. All right, we need to also have the bindable items. So so we go something like stack layout dot what is it? Item. No, it's not stack layout. It's bind. It's an attached property. So it's a bindable layout dot item template. That's it. And then we want to put inside of here a data template. Okay, and what the data template is going to be for these ones is basically this thing here, right? So that's going to be a data template. So this has got 3 elements in it. It's got an image. We've got a squircle there, a circle. So we can now use the shapes. So I can probably put an ellipse. I don't know how to spell ellipse. Ellipse. 2 L's. I don't know. And we've also got ourselves a little, what would you call that? A badge, maybe. Okay. So they're the 3 elements that we have in there. Now they're all kind of overlaid with each other. So I think the right approach with this one, yeah, a badge. Hi, Banderos. So we can put a badge in there. So the badge is probably its own little element, which is another ellipse and then a little bit of text in there as well. So that's probably what we're going to do there. All right. So to make all of that sort of come together, I think we're gonna throw this in another grid. I might look at refactoring this a little bit. Feel that there's quite a bit of nesting going on in the controls here. We've got a grid and a grid, in a scroll view, in a stack layer, in a grid. That's pretty crazy. I don't think it's going to impact this design because there's actually not that much data going on here. If you had a really complex page, you might not want to actually nest this much. But I think it's going to be fine. And look, we'll get it done as a starting point, and then we can refactor. So we'll make this we'll make this like 50 wide because we made this 50 high. Okay. We'll put it centered. Pre-optimization is the root of all evil. This is true, but like knowingly doing it wrong is also evil. So, yeah. So who knows? Anyway, I kind of know this will work, and then we can sort of find some cleverer ways. Like for example, we might want to move quite a few of the elements in this XAML out to their own controls. So that's an option as well. All right, so let's throw some things in here, and I may as well do this while we can see the design. Hi, Tended Dinosaur. How you doing? Welcome. And Bill Ashton, how you doing? Yeah, so this is kind of like normally the time that I do UI challenges. So pleased you can join me. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make this always sit on top. Dum, 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 dum. Always on top. Yep. And hopefully we can do this so we can actually see it as we do it. Material design in Xamarin.Forms. This is kind of, I don't know what you'd call this. This is a fairly custom layout. I'm not actually using the visual material on this. Bill, always looking for the Kim's live email. You get an email? Speaking of which, I just got one. All right, so what I want to do is I want to be able to view everything that's going on here. So in order to do that, I'm going to hide a few things here. So first thing I'm going to hide is I'm going to hide this front card. Get that out of my way. All right. So then I can see the thing behind it, but actually the thing I want is even behind this. So this is his visible false. All right, so this should be our grid down here. Let's have a look at it. There's a plane overhead. Oh, nice. I didn't know it sent out emails. Beautiful. Let's just do a background color of yellow. Just check that we... Yep. All right. So that's sitting down the bottom here. Beautiful. So let's throw some things in our grid here. So we have this in a bindable layout. We've got it in our template. So we should be able to come in here, add an image. We'll make everything 50. I don't know if I should put that into a XAML sort of static, but let's refactor that later on. Now, the source of this is going to be the image URL. So that's because image URL. Let's just see what happens there as a start. Let's see if we get something. Oh yeah, there we are. We got a couple of little cups down the bottom. We like that. Cool. We got them as 50. Let's make them centered. Let's then, in fact, to make this look a bit more as it's going to be, I'm going to take the background color that we actually have on on this page. And I'm actually going to move it from here up to the page level. So I'm going to come up here, background color. Oops. And we'll make this our accent color. All right, cool. Hey, Daniel. How you doing? Welcome. I don't know about the best. Maybe I'm the hackiest, Daniel. I'm just hacking it, trying to get it done. All right, so let's have a look at this design again. Oh, come here, Windows. All right, so we've got a cup, we've got an ellipse. Beautiful. So we should be able to use the ellipse. Ellipse, something like that. And I kind of just want this to be, I don't know, let's make it a little bit smaller. So let's give it a width request of 40 instead of 50 and a height request of 40. Okay, so it's a little bit smaller. Let's give it a fill of, now we kind of just want it to be a darker shade. So I could just say, make this black and give it an opacity of like 0.3, for example. Yeah, not bad, not bad. So what we probably want to do is move the image up a little bit, maybe. We'll just make sure that this is centered. Vertical center, horizontal centered. Yeah, okay, so it wasn't centered, it was actually sort of just filling. So that's a little bit nicer. So yeah, that's kind of looking okay there. All right. Okay, that's probably our ellipse that we need. I don't think there's anything else we need to do with that. We've got our image. It's vertically centered. We've got a height request. I wonder if we need a width request. I just want to make sure that this is 50. Yep, beautiful. Does that look about right? Maybe the cup wants to come up a little bit. I'm going to do a little translation. Just move it up a little bit. Yeah, it's probably all right. All right. Let's go ahead and add our badge here. So we can do this with another ellipse. Let's throw another ellipse in here. And this one will fill with white. We'll make it something on the sort of 8x8 sort of strategy. So we'll go width request of 16. We'll say a height request of 16. We'll do a vertical option center, horizontal options of center.
Today we're gonna code lots with Mr. Kim Philpotts, and oh how amazing
Hector.
you'll be.
Hi Hector, welcome. And thank you for following. All right, so we've got our little dot over here, but it's smack bang in the middle. We don't want that. So translation's a nice way of moving it if you want. So I'm going to move it the sort of width that it is. So we'll move it across 16, and then we'll move it up 16. There we are. Beautiful. And let's add a little bit of text. Now, I don't think I have the text yet. I don't think my view model has the information we need. But look, let's just leave those there for the moment. We'll come back to this once we work out the sizes and actually adding things to the shopping cart. Actually, maybe I'll just put it there for the moment, and we'll just have a fake value. Again, I'm gonna sort of be a little bit hacky here. I'm not going to pre-optimize. I'm just going to sort of say, okay, well, let's make this that size. And then I'm going to copy some of these values. Oops, it's not going to be happy with that, is it? Let's put text in here, which is going to be like medium, for example. There we are, not too bad. It's not quite centered. Let's make sure it's centered. I think we need vertical. I think that's doesn't perform well. But look, that's pretty good. We might want to adjust the font on that a little bit later on, for example. It's basically there. All right, cool. So that's sort of that section there. Okay, now over on the other side of this, so that's our bindable layout for this. What we also want to have inside of this grid here is we want to have the text, right? For the price. So that will come into here. We'll perhaps do that a little bit later on. Let's get the first part rocking, which is let's get this so that it pops up like that. Pops up, shows that, and maybe we'll also get that swipe going there. Okay, so we got that, those three states, and then we can refine each of those different views. It's kind of like the way I sort of like to work. I like to get the sort of shell, for want of a better word, of actually you get the shell going, and then or the framework of the page, and then sort of come back and fill in the details. Hot reload feature is, yeah, it's really, really helpful. This would be so painful if you didn't have hot reload. Yeah, absolutely. So let's have a look at this. Let's turn this back on, right? So this is my bag. Okay, so we're gonna have to do some, this needs to slide up the page, right? So I'm gonna have to access this puppy here in code. So we'll give it a name. And we're gonna have to, probably hot reload's gonna start failing because I'm starting to add in names and things like that. So we'll say this is our bag details. So that's this bit here. This is our bag details. This is the peak details, which is the bit that sits below there. Okay. That's all good. That should probably be enough for us at the moment to actually go and get this working. As Bandera said. Remember when Xamarin.Forms prior to hot reload had the XAML previewer? And that was huge prior to hot reload. Yeah, I don't even know if that's a thing anymore. So I think you're talking about the XAML previewer, the one that sits in here, right? And it was not great. But it definitely wasn't better, right? But yeah, hot reload is amazing. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll work out our states now. It was better than compiling every time, you're right. All right, let's stop this because I'm going to have to get this out of the way. Beautiful. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to basically come in here, set the various states that we have. So the things that we need to do, and this is what I like to do sometimes as well, like when I code and I'm just sort of doing this on the fly, which is always, I like to just sort of add comments in. So in the closed state, my bag and the peak details, right? So they need to be basically, I think in invisible or, behind. In fact, the my bag, let's just add this in. The my bag details, right? So that's the, let's see if we can, are we there anymore? We're not there anymore. Let's go to coffee. Coffee near me. My bag details is this page here. So that actually wants to start its life when we're in a closed state. We're going to just translate that down so that it starts here and just basically sits off the bottom of the page, because it's going to have to follow in when this comes up. All right. So let's just say my bag details, translation Y. So we want to animate its translation Y. And we want this to be basically off the page. So we want to translate it by the height of the page. Okay. And we want this to just happen immediately. We don't actually want it to animate. So we can set a length here of 0, right? Which says basically just do it, right? Just go and move that element straight away. Now we also want to add a view transition in here for our peak details. And for that, the peak details doesn't actually change position at all, right? So the peak details is this, right? It's this bit here. This does not move. The only thing it does is it becomes either visible or invisible, right? So if we so it's just sitting there, right? Because we can see as we slide up, it hasn't moved. It's just sitting behind it. Okay. The only thing it does is when the user swipes up, it fades out. Okay. So we don't need to do its translation, but what we do need to do is we need to potentially make it invisible. It probably doesn't matter actually. So we'll just say its opacity is 0. Right. We don't want a delay. We don't need to specify delay, but we will just say again, let's just make that straight out of the box. It just sits in that position. So that kind of puts our closed states. So let's have a look at our peak state now. Okay, so with our peak state, this is like this. So this page here is translated up by the amount of our peak height. This is visible, but the sort of page it's sitting, or the content view that's down there is, well, it's just translated down off the page, right? So let's try this. Let me just copy these. I'll just write them. So we'll say our new view transition. And the first thing we want to do is we want to say, let's have a look at our peak details. Our peak details, we want that to have an opacity, animation type dot opacity, and we want that to be visible. We want to have our bag details. My bag details. We want that to be translated at the bottom. So just to let it know that when we're in either the closed or the peak, its translation Y is going to be equal to, animation type translation Y, right? It's going to be this dot height of the page. Okay, cool. And in our open state, which is this state here, we have the bag details is translated up to a value of 0. This slider is all... Yeah, absolutely. So Lachlan says soon we'll get hot reload in code as well, which would be awesome. Then we're going to be super happy. My life's complete. Once we have hot reload for all the things, perfect. So this is translated up. We've already got that in place. Our peak details, which was sitting here, its opacity is equal to 0. It doesn't move. Okay, let's put some of those in and let's see what we get. So new view transition. Let's do our peak details first of all. Our peak details, our opacity is going to have a value of 0. John says, and all we need is hot reload for exchange security. Fortunately, I don't do the IT pro stuff. All right, and then we want to have a view transition for our bag details. We're going to translate it up, animation type. Let me scroll this up the page here a little bit. Animation type of translation Y, and it's going to have a value of 0. I think that is what we need. Too soon. All those people out there patching Exchange servers. Let's see what we get. And I really like doing the things in this state engine. I think it's really nice. It'd be nice if you could do it in XAML, mostly because of the hot reload. That wasn't what I was expecting. Oh, I know why. Because we made some things invisible, didn't we? Like the front page. But having said that, add to back. All right, I noticed that there was some flashing went on there. Okay, but that works. That is not far enough down. But that kind of works for us. Okay, a little bit. I think we need some delays in there because things are all moving at the same time. Also, this is sitting a little bit too high as well. All right, so let's adjust some of those values. I might put some of these into constants, and we probably also want to adjust the speed and the easing of this. It's a little bit, feels a little bit too mechanical, right? If we have a look at this design, and this is one of the nice things that designers do, is they think about all these little things like easings. So if you watch when this slides up, it actually accelerates up. It starts and then it starts accelerating. So just have a look at the comments there. Hot reload for Maui. I'm sure Blazor will have hot reload if it doesn't already. Yeah, so Lachlan just said they're working on hot reload for Blazor. I'm sure they are. I think it's kind of nice. The current state of development things is everything needs hot reload, which is really cool. All right, I'm going to put a variable here for how fast this reveals. Right, by that I mean how long does it take for that to slide up the page. So we'll say that equals 50 is too much. So 250 is the default speed for animations. So I'm going to make that 500. I'm also going to put in a peak height here. And we'll say a peak height is like, I don't know, like 80 maybe, because that's sitting a little bit too high. I'm not sure we're setting our initial state either. I feel like once we set up our states, we should be going to closed. I think the page state was a little bit weird when it started. Okay, so we start off in closed. Front card is where it needs to be. The thumb is invisible. That's the little thumb that appears. Our peak details, we want that to happen straight away. So it basically becomes invisible. This translates down beautiful. So our peak happens. Our front card moves up peak height amount. Our peak details. So with this, we kind of want this to wait for a little bit. Okay, so let's give this a delay of the speed that it reveals, right? But we want it to happen a little bit faster than the actual reveal itself, right? So let's just, for the moment, let's just say, let's make it 250. It doesn't like that. It needs to be an int. Okay, maybe it needs to be an int. Okay, thought it was a uint. All right. A speed of 250, and then our bag details under peak. I don't think, is that going to change? I think we want that because we've got to consider what happens when we close it as well. So this will want to have, this will happen at the speed of the reveal. And we're going to add some easing into this movement. Okay, and it kind of wants to accelerate to its endpoint. So we'll say it's an easing. And I actually like the cubic easings. They're kind of nice acceleration. Okay, can we make that a uint? I thought it was a uint. Now, in an open, we definitely want to do some things with this. We don't want this peak details to necessarily instantly go away. We want to add a little bit of delay into this. So let's give it a delay of 250. The bag details is going to slide up from the bottom at the same speed as the front page goes up. So we'll make these both reveal speed, because that way we can adjust it a little bit later on. We'll give it an easing as well. Cubic in. Okay, so this front card we want to animate at a particular speed as well. So again, we'll make this happen at the same speed as the other one. Okay, reveal speed, and we'll give it an easing as well. And the same one that we have here, easing, cubic in. And then we'll get rid of this bracket, or stick a bracket in maybe. Okay. I wonder if this front card wants to do the same thing. It's probably the same. We probably want the reveal. Let's do it the same up here. All right. So this is where hot reload for code would be really useful. I think it's about right. Let's have a look. Okay, here we are. We've got a bag. Add to the bag. Okay, that's good. That's good. Let's have a look what happens when we close it. Yep, disappears. Should it disappear? I'm not sure it should disappear. I think it should just always just be there. Hey JP, thanks for the follow. Welcome. Yeah, I don't think that wants to disappear or appear, right? Let's have a look at the design. I don't think it does. Yep, you're always there. Well, you're not always there. In an open state, you go away. And in a peak state or a closed state, you're always there. All right, let's try that. So in a peak state, you're there. In an open state, you go disappeary. I think then what we're going to have to do, yeah, so that should be cool. So that's opacity 1. Page state open is 0. Yeah. I think this wants to be a 1. Let's give that a go. It feels almost about right. Add to back. When this comes down, yeah, it's just sitting there. Beautiful. We go up. It fades out. This comes up. That's not too bad. I hate that that bag is sitting too high. My bag is too high. So
today we're gonna code lots with Mr. Kim.
Hey, Yomarengu. Welcome. Thanks for the follow. We're just hacking on some Xamarin.Forms here. So yeah, feel free to ask any questions, whatever. The design that we're working on is this one here. Just trying to reproduce this in Xamarin.Forms, basically. Okay, so let me have a look at that. So that state there, let's instead let's bring that down the page a little bit. So we'll give it 80 from the top. We don't want to adjust the bottom or the right margins. Sure, maybe a little bit higher, 60. Now it does screw up the states a little bit here. So you'll see it in the hot reload. So that looks pretty good. Yeah, that's nice. So that swipes up, that disappears. This page follows that one in, has a little bit of acceleration to it. And when this is closed, hello, can we close? Is this not going to a closed state anymore? There's a hot reload problem. Let's try it again. Sometimes hot reload with this animation library doesn't work quite as nice as you could because it holds a weak reference to the controls, which means every time we do a hot reload, it actually loses the reference to the controls. So I actually put in a little bit of hacky code for this to deal with it. It's pretty nasty. So I basically, because we need to set up the animation states once we know how big the page is, right? So on size allocated tells us that, and then we set up the states. But if I do a hot reload, it doesn't do a size allocated. It just comes straight into on appearing, which means that all of these, because they hold weak references to this stuff, actually disappears. So maybe if I just did this, this would make it work. Actually, that's just handling hot reload. Okay, let's have a look at this for a second. Close, yeah. I feel like I put a bit of code in here, swipe down. If the page saver is open, go to peak, otherwise go to closed. Let's just see if I'm getting a swipe there. Yeah, getting a swipe. It's kind of weird. I think it's a hot reload issue. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. I don't think we need to worry about that. Okay, so I think that's probably a pretty good starting. Let's get rid of that breakpoint. Pretty good starting point for that. Okay, what we probably want to do now is we probably want to do something crazy like say, hey, when I add to bag, it actually goes and adds one down here. So it adds it into our shopping cart. And the trick there for this design is when they add it to the shopping cart, there's a few things going on here. Let's have a look at what's happening. When we say add to bag, okay, so we add to bag, it is first of all, okay, coming in here, it's going to do a lottie animation of a tick. And then once that's finished, it also adds an element in here but it basically animates it in. Animate in new item. And the other thing it does, there's two other things. It changes this label back. And it also, at the same time, goes and does some cool stuff here. There's quite a bit going on when we add it to a bag. But let's start off simple. Let's just actually get it adding to a bag. Because at the moment, when we click that, we get nothing. All right. So somewhere, we've got an add to bag, I'm sure. Add to bag clicked, which takes us to our peak layout. Okay, so that's cool. But really, it's time to go back into Cody mode. So let's work out what we're going to do here. So we need to change the button image to a tick. Okay, it's going to be a Lottie thing. That'll be interesting. We're going to change to peak view, which is what we're doing here. We're then going to add something to the bag and animate it in. And we're also going to change our label here as well. Oh, okay, but we also need to animate in the change of price. All right, so we need to do that. So they're the four things I think that we need to do. Actually, yeah, I think that's it. Now we also need to do something when the animation finishes, right? So when the animation finishes, we need to hide the tick. And we also have to change the text on the buttons. All right, lots of stuff going on. Beautiful. Let's ignore Lottie for a moment because I have to go and find some Lottie images. We don't have our text for the price yet. Let's just add something to the bag. Wait on, and then animate in the bag item. So that's going to be special. All right. So first things first. Let's put something in our bag. We're actually not going to be able to animate the change of price until after we have it in the bag. So it's probably going to sit down here somewhere. All right. So we're going to have view model. Right. Well, first of all, we've got a shopping cart item. Right. Shopping cart item. Okay. So we're going to say, let's create a new shopping cart item. And we want to use whatever the selected item is. So like a Frappuccino at the moment. So that's in our view model. Right, selected item. Yeah. Okay. So that, in our case, is a coffee item. Beautiful. Right. In a real solution, you might sort of abstract it out. It might be like just an item. In our case, we're just dealing with coffee, so it's a coffee item. And we also need to know the size of it. Let's ignore that for the moment. So first things first, we need to create a constructor for this. Okay. Let's go and have a look at this constructor. So what this sort of needs to do is basically we're creating a shopping cart item from a coffee item, right? So the coffee item has things like an image URL and things like that, and a shopping cart item does as well. It's kind of like a duplicate of a coffee item, if you like. Probably a few ways you could do this, but I'm just going to say the name of the shopping cart item is equal to the coffee item, its name. I'm going to say its quantity is 1 at the moment. I'm going to say, let's just hard code this for the moment. Let's just say the size is small, right? And then we'll get an image URL. Is that selected item.image URL? So basically what we're doing here is make a shopping cart item from the current item, because potentially we're going to have to change the size. So even though the coffee is the same, we're going to select a size, and then that's going to have to come through here. So we'll work that out a little bit later on. Okay, so that created a coffee cart item. Once we have a coffee cart, oops, that didn't work very well. Once we have a coffee cart item, we then basically want to go and add that into our shopping cart. Okay, so in our view models, we've got what do we got? We've got a items, add a new shopping item. Now, whether this should be all done in the view model, who knows? Probably should. In fact, there's no reason to do it here. Actually, there might be a reason to do it here. Let's just do it here for the moment. Because you're just creating the shopping cart item. Yeah. And then we're going to add it in here. Okay, fair enough. Probably something, if my view model is a little bit nice, probably something you want to do in there. But anyway, add that item in. Now, I think I broke this because all of these other shopping cart items were expecting a parameterless constructor. So we could create one of those like that, right? And I think that would make it probably happy. Something like that. All right. Let's see if that works for us. I feel like it should, because we're binding to these items. We'll find out. So come in here, we say add to bag. Yep, beautiful. It's adding him to the bag. And we have no way of removing him from the bag. And we're always adding a medium in, but it is actually working. It's just going to get pretty weird. But we can scroll it. There's that. All right, so that's cool. Maybe what we should do, I wonder, maybe what we should do is when we click on an item, remove it just for our testing purposes. Maybe. Yeah, why don't we do that? Why don't we just say if I tap on one of these, it will remove it? Because otherwise we're going to have a hard time testing this. So in our bindable layouts, let's say in our image, add in a gesture recognizer. And I think what we should find, because we're binding it, right? What we should be able to do is the thing that is the sender will probably have a bindable context, which is a binding context, which is a shopping cart item. So if I say something like item equals the sender, so we'll cast that to like a view. Sender dot binding context, right, as a shopping cart item. I should then be able to go to my view models dot items dot remove item something, and maybe that will take care of it. Okay, cool. Let's just test that before we go too far. Let's deal with these sizes first of all, huh? So what we need to do is we need to work out what size we're at. And when we add it to the bag, we need it to set the size. Sounds easy. I'm sure it sounds easier than it's gonna be. So we have our selected item, which is our coffee item, but we also need to pass into that the size of the selected item. Now, does the selected item have a size in it? It doesn't have a size. So it's kind of like we want the selected item to have a size. So maybe when we tick on one of those, we can set the size. Update selected size. Small price. This code's pretty gnarly, actually. But if we say view models, it's just for giggles here. Models dot selected item size equals. Now we have this. I'm just going to use a text here for the moment. Because what that'll allow us to do, we'll refactor this code. I feel that this is ripe for refactoring, but let's not do it too early. Let's write nasty code first. So now we have a selected item size. So when we come into here, we should be able to just go size equals the selected item dot size, and we should be able to bind that now in our shopping cart, I think. So when I select medium, I add that in. Let's change that to be a binding of size. And then so there we are. We'll add a large. Yeah. We'll add a small. Beautiful. So that's small, medium, large. Great. All right, that's half the battle. So we've got things in our shopping cart. Actually, are they in our shopping cart? Let's have a look. Yeah, small, medium, large. Prices are all wrong. But at least we got them in there. Okay, now let's see if we can do something tricky. Something UI, my favorite things to do. So this is what we want to do. When an item comes in, it doesn't just add it into the collection. Instead, it animates it in. Does a little animation. Travidale, how you doing? Long time no see. Welcome. You're about to see me write some really hacky code. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say the last item added to the shopping collection. I'm going to grab that item and I'm going to do some scale animation. What could go wrong? Now this is a stack layout, right? And that's good. And that's why I wanted it to be a stack layout, because if it's a stack layout, we can iterate the children. So what I could do here, maybe, is basically find the last item that was added. Follow me this. Find the last item that was added, and then just hopefully just start doing some scaling on it. So if we say last item, and we should just be able to have a look at the collection in the stack layer, which is our. Do we have a reference now? We don't. Let's give this a name. All right, so these are our peak items, meaning we're peeking and having a look at them. So we could say peak items, children, and we want the last one. Last or default, because okay, and that's going to give us a view. So my theory here is if we go and because that's a view, we can now animate that thing. So we can say, let's set its scale to 0. It's not a method, it's a property. And then we can say, let's animate it in. But what we also want to do, this is kind of important. Let's have a look. See, this pops up and then it animates in. It doesn't sort of start animating in now, because otherwise you wouldn't see the animation. So it's got to wait the same amount of time, which was 250 that we had. So no worries, Travidale. Take care. Quick hi and bye. Well, it's good to see you. Be around in the future. Yeah, I think now that I've things have calmed down a little bit, I'm probably going to keep this Friday stream going. I'm thinking maybe I'll try and do some less ambitious UIs and see if I can get them done in a day. Anyway, who knows? But take care, Travidale. Good to see you. I'm going to wait. This feels nasty, but I think it's going to work. So I'm waiting 250. So I'm waiting for that thing to go up the page. And then I'm going to get my last item. And I'm going to scale it to like, now there's a few ways we could do this, right? Ultimately, it comes to rest at a scale of 1. Now, what it actually does is it scales out beyond that, comes back, it goes forward again. So we could either do it with like a bunch of different animations, or maybe we just go for like a bounce and see how that looks. So if I scale this to 1, so it's coming from 0, goes to 1. We'll do it over like a second, we'll say. And then we can use a bounce easing. I can never remember whether it's bounce in or bounce out. Does this have bounce? So yeah, we want it to bounce in. No, we want it to bounce out. Yeah, we want it to size and then go up. Doing, 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 doing. That's a technical term. Doing, doing, doing. All right, so let's make it a bounce out. Bounce out. All right. Let's try it out. See what happens. Ambitious is good. Hey, Mac. How you doing? We like ambitious. Ambitious is good, but it's hard to get one done in a stream. My God, Dragon's here. Many months. 21 many months. Fantastic. Thank you, Dragon. Wait on, I didn't hear the theme song.
Today we're gonna code lots with Mr. Kim Philpotts, and oh, how amazing you'll be.
Thank you. Appreciate the support. All right, let's have a look. Will it work? I don't have a size specified. I need to set the default value here. All right, let's try. Let's have a look. That's not bad. Let's remove them all out. Let's add a large in. Boink. Medium. Small. That's pretty cool. Dragon recently started learning React Native for a work project. Awesome. How are you finding it? Is it a gentle path, or is it a bit like this? Not so bad compared to React Web. Development life cycle is very fast. Oh, that's cool. I'm pretty happy with that. So if I say add to bag, I've got a large, just add to bag. Yeah, that's cool. All right. I'm going to stick with that. All right, let's do next. So the things we have to do, we have to animate that button with some Lottie animation, and we've got to put a price down here. We're going to use the same sort of thing that we did here. All right, let's give that a go. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, easings.net is cool. Yeah, it's really really nice. And what's also cool about it as well, it's cool for web type dudes also. I think it's mainly built for web type dudes. When you click into an easing, it gives you, and maybe this is good for you React peeps, it gives you all of this stuff for CSS, and allows you to test how it looks. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And a maths function for people like me who don't understand maths. So yeah, that's a cool resource. All right. Next. Let's do the price. The price. Now, I've kind of hacked together this price control using this thing called a flip label. And we use that. Let me just put it in here. We'll have a look. Novation Launchpad. I've not heard of. Ooh. It looks like it's a really big Stream Deck with 64 buttons. Have you got one, Dragon? It's only for music. I'm sure somebody's written a Stream Deck plugin for it. See, somebody's you, Dragon, who's going to create an integration for it. That's cool. It beats the measly 15 buttons I have. All right, what I'm going to look for here is I'm going to get this stack layout here. And I feel that this is something that should become a control, a proper control. That sounds really cool. One thing I would, bit of a. Wait, hang on. Let me paste this in first. This is going to go into the second column. It's going to go into grid column 1. I want this to be it's horizontal, but I want it to be at the center. I want the horizontal options to be at the end, I think. Makes sense, maybe. Vertical center. Give it a margin. Let's just have a look at see it first of all, because I think we're running. Where did you go? I need to give this a height request. Yeah. It's a margin. Maybe just to the right. Okay, cool. So I'm doing, yeah, dragon. So what I'm doing here, is this control down the bottom here, right? So already we have, like, as we change prices, change quantities up here, we're doing we got this cool animation going on here. We want to do the same thing when we add something to a bag. We want it to animate this. So if we have a look here, when they click this, it animates that. So the same way. So yeah, that's what we're trying to do. Now, actually, while we're here, here's something that might be useful for you, Dragon. Because you were doing the thing with the buttons, right? What this is, I don't actually have it running here, but what Noobs Commander allows you to do is it allows you to... Is it going to paste? It's not going to paste. My paste isn't working. Create little scripts that control OBS and things like that, right? So it's a little WPF app actually, but you can basically set it up so if you had, like, you wanted a button to start a stream or to switch a scene, it'll write you out a little batch file essentially that will do it for you, which means behind the scenes your buttons could call one of those. Anyway, I was just thinking about it. Thought it might be useful. All right. Yeah, and Dragon, you're right. This is a really cool effect. So the way I've done this is, it's kind of a little bit hacky, but basically when it changes text, it basically rotates them and then rotates one of the characters. So there's a flip text and then there's a flip label, which when you change the label value, basically kicks off a bunch of tasks in random speeds and random positions to just animate whichever one needs to animate. So it's pretty fun. It's nice. Anyway, we're gonna do the same thing down here. Hulkboro, welcome. Thanks for following. Appreciate you joining. Okay, so let's do the same thing with this down here. Let's style this puppy first of all. Animate the price change. All right. So I don't have... I don't really have a nice way of doing this. If I have a look at how I did it in the other one, and this is where hey, Rocksmith family, how you doing? Mr. Clinton, long time no see. Good, with lots of O's. Excellent. All right, so let's do this. Animate the It's like a reunion. It is. It's a beautiful thing. Let's create a method for this. So let's go and update, because I'm going to do some other things in here. Update shopping cart totals. Our peak total. And what we're going to do in here. Okay. We're going to basically come in here, and this is a little bit nasty, but we'll refactor this later, I'm sure. I keep on saying I'm going to refactor things because yeah, anyway, hopefully I will. So what we're going to do is we want to get the total price of the shopping cart. So in our view model, view models dot total price to string, right? So we're basically getting it in that format, and then we're splitting it apart. I'm just so Dragon. Yeah, that's me every stream, because that's how real programmers work. Because then I can like bill it later on, and I can say, oh yeah, it's going to be another 2 weeks because I have to refactor it. It's back at my like consulting days, you know. All right, so then what we do is we do this thing. We do this thing where we get the amount and we turn it into a string like that. But because we've got different, this is the complexity, right? This is my excuse for why I'm writing it so hacky. So if I go to coffee, the thing that this needs to do is it needs to animate only parts of this, right? So for example, right, if I do something that's not changing the dollar, it only animates these bits, you see? But if I'm doing it where it changes more bits, it animates all three of them, but it doesn't animate the dot in the middle or the pound sign. So it kind of feels a little bit hacky, but it's also very custom as well. Anyway, this is the peak. What do we call it? Peak cents and peak dollar. Bandros, I could say that. Hang on, let's have a look at what this says. I even say that to junior developers: when something is good enough for today's problems, testable enough to pass unit tests, then refactor later when needed. Sure, why not? You know? Get it working, get it tested, improve it later when it's a problem. And Clinton says there's a fire raging in Preston, which is near me. I'm assuming that's why I should shut my window. All right, thanks, Clinton. Okay, so we're not doing anything. Oh, that's because I'm not running. This is the old version of the code. So this updates the shopping cart. I don't even know whether these... I'm going to have to run this, see what we're up to. Oh, we did an animation there. $1.05. That doesn't look right. I don't think I'm updating my cart totals. if I had to guess. All right. So this is just getting the value. So that's cool. Let's have a look here. Something tells me I'm not doing the right thing here. So we got a shopping cart item. We figured it in here. We got a size. We got a thing. Yeah, I thought we had a. Yeah, we do. We have a method. Total price, right? So that should. I bet you what we need to do is when we add something into our. Oh, sorry, my Xamarin was hiding it. Yeah, my apologies. I need to remember the Xamarin's there. What was happening? Coffee. No. Coffee near me. How's Android work? You can remember. Stop listening to me. What was happening is when I'm adding these things to the shopping cart, it's not updating the total. It does it does sometimes. Yeah. Anyway, so I think the problem is that when we add something to the collection, we're not sending a notification that the total price has changed. Kind of makes sense to me. So maybe we should say in our order view model, is there a way of chaining another value to a change in observable collection? What I'm like, basically what I want to do is I want to say when this collection changes, then go ahead and say property changed. Property changed? No, not property changed. What is it? On property changed? Oh. I kind of want to do that. And that'll probably work. I just wonder if there's a nicer way of doing it. You gonna help me out, IntelliSense? No. I think that'll work. Basically, it says if something changes in the collection. Cough, Foddy. Yeah, Foddy can do it. Foddy. Yeah, Foddy's good like that. How am I going to get rid of these two that are in the shopping cart already, I think. I put some test data in here. Maybe I'll get rid of these while I'm here. Yeah, I'm not using Foddy. Maybe I should. So my total price, if we're going to have a look at that, total price goes through for each of the items. Boom, boom, boom. Goes and adds up the price and returns the price. Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's see if this works. And it went to 0. Why so 0? items. We got 3 items. Oh, that all have a price of 0. Okay. That makes sense. So when we add them to the collection, selected item size. Thank God. So I need to set the price equal to what if I did this? What if I had a method property that basically said something like this? The size is a string at the moment. Price selected size price. Some. Would this be a horrible thing to do? Like, if Clinton's still here, he's an MVVM purist. He'll be like just like freaking out. But what he's especially going to freak out about, I think this needs to be a decimal, right? Is this code. Because their size at the moment is, I want to say it's a small. This is horrible. Return small price. It's just terrible. It's going to work for what we want. Anyway, just pretend you didn't see anything. We'll refactor it later. You know, I could save myself some time, actually. I'm going to do this. Hang on. We'll refactor it later. We'll refactor it later. Cool. Now I just need to press a button. Who needs switch statements? Exactly. Not me. We'll refactor it later. Okay, so we need a price, but of course, when the price changes, it's going to be the same deal, right? In our shopping cart item, it's going to be the same deal in that when we set this, we have to do a set property to tell it. So we're going to set a property of price. And their value. Okay, so that's cool. Do we need that? We probably don't need that, actually. Let's see if we get the right value. change? Oh, it changed after. Right. Ah, Zamagon. 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 All right. It actually does, not when I remove an item, but when I add an item, it does update the value. Okay, a couple of things to fix here. One, when I remove something, it should actually update the price as well. I would have thought it would because the collection would change. Maybe the collection change should trigger. Oh, it is changing. Okay, a couple of things to fix. One, when it goes over 1 decimal here, 1 point, it needs to change. The color of it needs to change. And the time when it animates needs to change as well. All right. Let's quickly smash those out then. So we want to update the price once we've added it to the bag, but before we animate in the item, so they happen at the same time. That'll fix that problem. We need, so that's cool. When I remove an item, I go and remove this from the items collection. Oh, but because it's not bound, because it's not bound, I need to update it here as well. Okay, so that would be a good thing to do. Actually make that control have binding. Okay, that's an opportunity for excellence. We'll refactor it later. So that fixes that problem. The other problem we have is our flip label. It specifies a number of characters. Definitely an opportunity for excellence. All right, so what we could do in our... Oh yeah, let's do that. Let's have a refactor it later count. I love it. That's exactly what we do need. So when the number of characters changes, it creates a character, which is cool. So that feels like it should work. Oh, I know what I need to do. I need to basically say, yeah, this is getting nastier by the day. I need to do something like, say, peak dollar, because it's going to change. Number of characters equals dollar length. Zoinks! And that'll fix that. I'll do that for the next stream, Bendros. I have a refactor counter. I can actually tie it up to a button on my stream deck. Okay, 3:45. 765. A little 11. A little 1110. All right. When I create a character, I mustn't be assigning a style to it. So let's style this thing. That's hilarious. Number of characters when I create a character. So when I create a character in here, yeah, we good. So what this does is it goes through, works out the number of characters, creates the various elements, sets the text to 0, does some yada, 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 adds it in. But what it never does is set the style. So there's a text style property. Something like that. Beautiful. And we actually need to change the style anyway because it's wrong. It's appearing dark and it should appear light. So let's have a look at our small currency text. I think we basically wanted the same as that. But let's call it the peak total text. Peak total text. And semi-bold, font size 28 looks about right. Static resources, text color, no. Text color light, maybe? Probably just white, but. And then in our page. Did I just change that? I did. Okay. Publish it. Ship it. Medium size, 345 should be white, should definitely be white. We'll refactor it later. We'll change that to a property later. Oh! I did something bad.
Today we're gonna code lots with Mr. Kim Philpotts and oh how amazing.
Hey, Jay Gulen. Probably horribly pronounced that. Welcome, thanks for the follow. $660, we like that. 10, yes. 14, 17, 21, 24. And as we take them out, we end back at 0. It's kind of a weird UI. I wonder what the intent of this UI is actually, whether the mediums should be combined or whether the idea is that you just have different values there. Okay. We've got our bag there. We've got our order amount. It's looking pretty cool. I don't hate it. All right, let's tackle the next thing. Next thing is this. So we go add to bag. When we tap the button, it gets rid of the text. It puts a tick in there, a tick animation. And then it opens up. So, things like that, Lottie's our friend, right? And specifically, Lottie files. Lottie files, Lottie files, Lottie files. Really? Lottie files. Go to my dashboard. I don't know what that is. Okay. We're looking for a tick. And this is where you find out like all of the ticks are like over the top. Yeah, they're all pretty hardcore ticks. Just after a simple tick. Wow. All right. Now specifically, I'm after a simple white tick. And actually, anyone who's been doing anything with Lottie files recently, they're doing some really cool stuff with this, because you can do things like you can edit Lottie files in the browser. I'm gonna come back here. So we can do things like this. I'm gonna find one which has mostly what I don't like that tick. Mostly what we're after. Hang on. I'm really after just a simple white one. So like this one here, right? Now, all I want is to not have that background. Yeah, so check this out. Check this out, Dragon. So you got this one here, right? And this is what we want, except we don't want that stupid circle, right? Because if we have a look at what we got, we literally just want a tick that goes animate, whoop, like that. So I think what we can do is we can come here and we can say, let's get this puppy, edit layers, edit layer colors. And then we can say, you know what? This one, let's hide that layer. Right, and of course it's white on white, but I could even just go to shape layer 1 here, and I can adjust the colors of it, right? So I could make this red. And now I got a red tick. Boom! Which is pretty cool, right? In my case, I just want a white tick. So I'm going to change it back to white, and of course we're not going to be able to see it. And then I can export the layer. I could export the whole thing, but I can just export the layer. And that will give me the Lottie file just for that layer, I do believe. And so I can then rename this. Let's see if this works. Let's call it tick. Make it lowercase. Tick. And then I should be able to get that file and stick it into my Android project under assets. And, if I stop running, add an existing item from downloads tick.json. And I'm assuming in my iOS it goes under resources, I think. Add existing item. Tick. All right. Do I know if Lottie works with WPF? I'm sure it does. Let's have a. Do you mean Xamarin.Forms? Oh, wait on. Let's have a look. Lottie WPF. I'm sure it would. Lottie Sharp. You can do it in Sharp and Lottie animations for WPF. Boom. Look at that. This library allows WPF to load and run After Effects animations. Awesome. All right, now, speaking of Lottie, let's add our friend Lottie in here and see if we can get this thing working. Manage nuggets. Browse. Lottie.Forms. Something. Lottie.Forms. Add it to all the things. I know for Android it has to be Android 10, but I know this project is Android 10. Grab a namespace. So let's stick a namespace up here. I don't know why I use this forms in his sample, because that seems like it should be reserved. So we'll just say Lottie. We'll come down the bottom here and we'll stick in a Lottie view, basically just over the top. So I'm going to get it from the README file because that seems like a good idea. And we basically want it to sit. We have our button here, right? Now the button can't take Lottie as content, but we can actually just sit it over top. That would work. So if we put this in here, and we'll call it animation view, that'll be fine. We'll refactor it later. And then I say this is tick.json, asset or bundle. We're not going to have a command because it doesn't do anything. We'll center it. We don't want it to repeat. So our repeat count is 0, which it probably is anyway, I'm guessing. Probably about it. I have noticed that I've always had to assign heights and widths to animation, to Lottie views, because otherwise they crap out. So I'm going to make it the same height as the button, and we'll make it square. Something like that. We want to know when it's finished, because when it finishes, we want to change the text, right? So we've got a few things that we want to do there. All right, cool. So that's probably what we need to do. I don't know. We might want to say it's invisible to start with. So is visible false? All right. And then back in our code here, change the button image to a tick. So the very first thing we need to do is we've got our add starting IntelliSense. That that doesn't sound good. Add this doesn't have a name. This needs a name. X colon name equals add to bag. What's going on here? Oh. So add to bag text. It's going to be nothing. Then we're going to say, let's make the animation visible. Let's play the animation. Let's let that run. Let's have a look at the timing of this. How does this actually work? Tick. Okay, so the tick just happens. Chink. Okay. Player animation. So that's starting playing. We change to our peak view, so everything's going to move up the page, which is kind of what we're after. And then at the end, when the animation finishes, hide the text. Now that we've got to do because we don't know how long it's going to take, but if we were to go to our method we created, what we could do is we could say, yeah, let's just change it basically here. So I'm assuming it's stopped at this point. Yeah, I'm assuming it's stopped. Let's make it invisible. Animation view dot is visible equal to false. And let's say our add to bag text is now going to be equal to add one more. Okay. Let's see if that works. Good old Lottie. I never get Lottie right the first time. Come on. Hurry up, Android. As soon as you add Lottie in, it's got to rebuild everything. Here we go. Add to bag. That was a thing of beauty. Hang on. Yeah, it used to take super long. You know what's funny here? Check this out. You know how my Lottie animation doesn't work? Oh, yeah. I remember Visual Studio 2015. Have a look at this. Look up here. There's my tick. It's in the wrong spot. Because I didn't add it to the right grid row. Awesome. Grid.row equals 3. Sure, why not? Yeah, I remember the bad old days of Visual Studio 2015 with Xamarin.Forms and the... Okay, that's not bad. It feels a little crass. It needs more delay at the end. That's what it needs. Let's just, for shits and giggles, let's have a look at what it actually does. So it comes along here. Basically just, yep, goes straight to it. And then it stays for a while and then it swaps. Okay. Hey Rob Gibbons, how you doing? Yeah, I did Zamu. Hey, I've got a Zamu shirt on. I think it's my last one. Yeah, sometimes you'd have whole classes at ZAMU where, yeah, there was just a whole bunch of waiting. I don't know a better way of doing this. Await.task, that's pretty cool. Await task delay of like a second. So we'll wait a second. And then make is visible false, and then add to bag is that. Yeah, it should do it. That should do it. Nice shirt, indeed. All right, add to bag. Let's watch. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Nice. Yeah, that's looking pretty good, huh? I'm pretty happy with that, I think. I don't know about the actual functionality of the app because it. Is .NET 6 Preview 2 out, is it? Yeah, I'll get straight on it, Rob. All right. So I think I'm done there. Excellent, Dragon. Have fun playing some games. I'll throw these recordings up so you can catch all the fun later. By the way, my wife can't hear, so it's all right. I got an Xbox One Series X. So, well, I ordered one. I finally find one in stock. So there you go. But yeah, don't tell my wife. She's like out there somewhere. All right. Cool. My bag. There's nothing in my bag. There's a medium in my bag. Good. There's a large in my bag. There we are. That's looking pretty good. It's all right. My wife does really know. I haven't actually run it yet, but the blog post looks like the biggest change in Xamarin since Xamarin.Forms. All in a good way, I hear. I was on a stream the other day and somebody talked about they did some Maui stuff and it was super fast. Yeah, so that will be the real winner, right? All right. What do I need to do? What do I need to do to finish this puppy off? I probably should add some. Oh, you're making me. You're making me want to go and play with it, Rob. Okay, that's not great. That's not great. My bag. Why is my bag doing that? It's not in the front card. It's in the back card. Oh, because it's a bindable stack layout, which is not what we want. We want that to be we want that to be a collection view. God, item source equals binding to items. Collection view. Let's see if we remember collection view. Collection view something something. Collection view dot template layout items layout. This wants to be a linear layout with an orientation of vertical and spacing of 20 is the padding amount. So that's good. What else we got? Change this to a collection view item template. I think that's it. That's all you need to change, isn't it? Let's find out. Sounds like just having a look at the chat. Sounds like some really cool things. Rob's using functions because functions are awesome. Let's go and add a few more in. Yep, that's better. Uh-oh. What was that? No idea what that was. Rob likes his big fat VS. Me too. All right. Oof. Andros. Stuck on .NET 3.1 long-term support. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking mostly I'm done. Got that ticking, that ticking, that ticking. That was the main design elements. I'm going to screenshot that. Rob Gibbons. Great part of being a manager. None of my code matters. I'll tell you what I will, Rob. I will. I feel there's one thing not right here. I feel like when we first start up, we don't have something selected. And maybe we should. But it's very much driven from the UI. I'm going to put something super duper hacky in. We'll refactor it later. Given that I haven't cared about the view model for this one at all. right. I think I'm done. Bandros is right. We'll refactor it later. I will refactor it later. In fact, I think this whole view model is just rubbish. There's so much that's wrong with this view model. But, you know, that's not the purpose of these streams, right? Oh, you haven't seen the Android emulator. I wonder if this runs on Android, on iOS. God, let's try that. This won't go well. That's what we might have to refactor later. Are we running? Oh, we're running. That's why. Let's see what happens if we throw this on iOS. Oof. We don't even have a connection. Look at that. Looks like it doesn't have a connection, but actually it does. Apple for life. Yeah. I didn't think it was connected. I hope this. I still have some troubles with pairing to Mac, but it's not nearly as bad as it used to be. It's funny, Rob, because the ooh. I never use my Mac. You see. I wasn't logged in. Let's see if this works better. It doesn't look good, does it? Connection to failed because the connected party did not respond. No party on my Mac. God. I'm gonna press the button again. I think my Mac needs to reboot. Any love? No love. Yeah, I think normally when I get this, the Mac's got to restart. I'll give that a restart. Rob Gibbons, when the lockdown hit, my 12-year-old son ended up using my $4,000 MacBook Pro every day to run Chrome.
Today we're gonna code lots with Mr. Kim Phil Potson. Oh, how amazing you'll be.
Cry 15 Dennis? I don't know. Can I just call you Dennis? Welcome. Thanks for the follow. Well, Rob, we're going to talk about that. Can I expense some things? All right. Not much luck on the old iOS. So I'll wait until this boots up and see if we can get it running on iOS. Other than that, let's have a look. Set as a startup project, go run this thing. I think I shut down Visor, which was a really unfortunate thing to do. That's a bag, tickety tick. We're good there. We're good there. Like if I did this view model properly, I think I would do things like when it goes into the cart, if I was to add another medium, it would just put a ×2 on here. Because otherwise you can end up going medium and medium. No, Visor. Visor's really cool. Visor basically. So this is running on my phone. This is a remote control. This is a remote interface for my phone. Yeah, so it's showing my device, and the cool thing is, like, I can either use my device. So here I am using my device, clicking, right? But I can also control it through my mouse and keyboard. So it makes it feel like an emulator, but it's actually a physical device. It's awesome. I don't know what Expo is. All right, I'm just rebooted my Mac. So this feels okay. I may have to jump off soon anyway. But we'll just have a look at the damage from the Mac side of things. Hey, this is better. Checking mono. Starting connection. Yeah, because I use the physical device because I haven't had great luck with emulators in Android. Although on some of my machines they work well, and some of them they're just rubbish. Oh, actually, this doesn't look good. Android emulator is the blurst. Alright, if this doesn't work, I'm not going to bother doing that. I'll do it off stream. Because I'll probably have to reboot this machine. Oh no, here we go. Maybe. Maybe. Yeah, geocaching, location services. I mean, you can emulate lots of location stuff, right? On emulators. Okay, we're connected. This is like kind of like the test of iOS of Xamarin. Just like completely develop on one platform, then just try running it on another. See what happens. It probably blows up. Is what happens. Meanwhile, we can see if there's anyone. Streaming? No, not really. All right, come on, iOS Simulator. You got this. This Raspberry Pi machine back here, it's running Raspbian, I think. So I'm going to write a Twitch bot so you can put your own messages up on the board behind me. Like, we'll refactor it later. Maybe that's where the refactor later count should be. Does all of the Xamarin stuff work with all of the nice new M1 Mac things? Anyone know that? Because I know my my Mac's getting pretty slow. Oh, it does work. Awesome. Should we be running at this point? Ah, here we go. All right. What do we got here? We've got a weird circle there. I don't know why we got, instead of just being shaded. We're going to add one in. Yeah, look, it's got weird circles. Ooh. Some refinements we got to make on this puppy. It's basically there. I'm going to have a look quickly. Let's have a look at like that circle behind there. And the front card and ellipse. I bet you got to set the stroke as well on Android, on iOS. That's kind of like an annoying thing, if that's what the problem is. Can you just get rid of the stroke? Transparent. No. Wow, that's super annoying. Yeah, okay. That'll get rid of it. It's kind of annoying, though. Okay, I'm just going to make a couple of little changes here. And then I think we're pretty much done. I get rid of that stroke around. Ooh, look at that font. That font. Well, what we could do is let's get that. semi-bold font. And we'll call this the peak badge text. $10, and we'll do it in like the dark gray. We'll do it in text color. It's not where I want to be. Get rid of that. Is that better? Rob, you subscribe to the wrong channels. Oh, sorry, I haven't been paying attention to the chat. Daniel, how are you doing? Where is the ellipse control located on the grid? What do you mean? Are we talking about this ellipse control? This one? Yep. Let me show you what this is, right? So what this is a stack layer, which is horizontal, right? So what that's actually doing is there's a stack layout here with horizontal, right? And so the data template controls one of these elements, right? So the data template it's a grid. The reason it's a grid is it just allows me to overlap elements on top of each other. You could probably use, I don't know, a frame or something. Grids work nice though. They're pretty lightweight. We've got an ellipse, an image, another ellipse, and a label. So if we go and have a look, I'll just go across to this here so I can zoom in a bit more. I'll show you what we have. Let's come in here. Right. So the data template. Hang on. Sorry, okay. So data template specifies one of these elements, right? That's what it is. And so what's actually inside of here? So that's a grid. And what we have is, if I can get this right, we've got an image. We've got an ellipse here. We've got another ellipse here, right? But this one is just translated up and to the side. And then we've got a label as well. So that's how each of those elements is put together. Yeah, and so that's where the ellipses go. There's two ellipses in there, an image and a label. And if we go back to our code, we can see that. At the background is an ellipse, which is just mostly transparent. So it's just shading the background. Then we've got the image of our product. We've got our ellipse, which is basically just offset. So that's the tooltip, the badge. And that's the text for the badge. So yeah, hopefully that explains that for you. All right. Okay. That's a bit wacky. I'm gonna have to work on that. See, down here, this works sometimes. It's not very robust though. Look, I'll add one item here. and that was fine. Sometimes it appears for a second. Anyway, it'll give us something to refactor later, right? We'll refactor it later. Cool. All right. Well, I think I'm gonna have to. I think I'm gonna have to jump off and do some real work. But what could even be causing that? Ah, Rob, I know exactly what's causing that. Do you want to? Does it only happen after something was removed? No, I don't think it is. I think it's a race condition on iOS because iOS is fast enough. You see there? Because look what happened. Look, the way I do this, Rob, make the last one appear here, right? Because this is a bound. This is a stack layout with binding items across here, right? And on Android it wasn't a problem, but the super hacky way this is done. Yeah, exactly. Android's crappy performance came through. Here.
Today we're gonna code lots with Mr. Kim, Phil Potts, and oh, how amazing
Frankly,
you'll be.
thanks for the follow. This is how we animate in that last item that gets added to the collection, right? So we just add it into the shopping cart, right? And then what we do is I say, from that stack layout, go and get the last element in there, set it scale to 0. And so in Android's crappy performance world, it never got a chance to render it. But I think iOS sometimes it appears before I scale it to 0. And then this delay here is actually just, it's not anything other than if this is collapsed, the idea is that it doesn't start scaling it until this has popped up. You see, that's why it waits for 250 before it scales it up. So my guess is the faster your phone is, the more you're going to see that. So on Android, you'll never see it. Anyway, so how could I solve that? I could solve that by like literally just not using a bindable layout. What about the faster I click add? I don't think so. Let's do it. Let's just smash add on a medium here. Well, my simulator's struggling, but no, it doesn't seem to. It's a little bit looks a little bit laggy, but that's probably because my my Mac is a bit rubbish. But no, it did it once in there. Smash that button, exactly. Some people are fast tappers. I guess the way to solve this is either so it's inconsistently consistent. That's right. One way would be not to use a bindable layout, right? Like literally just add them myself. Just say, yeah, go and add myself another element here, and that way I could start it. You know, I'm not relying on interrupting what the stack layout binding's doing, the bindable layout. So instead, I actually just add each of those manually myself. That would be a way of doing it. Do we get rid of that problem? Yeah, like it passed the unit test today. That's what matters. Yeah. And then tomorrow when the unit test fails, it gives me something to do. Beautiful. All right. Well, I'm gonna sign off. I've gone for a little bit longer than I thought. So yeah, I'm gonna say bye for now. I think it was a good challenge. I think there's a little bit of tidying up I might do off stream because it's just going to be really boring and hacky. So maybe next week I'll take a new one and do something. But look, lots of cool elements in this one. That control there is kind of interesting. I feel it's a little bit too specialized to create a generic control out of. You know, the sliding up and down is really nice. Let's have a look at here as well. Coffee. I think this is the latest build. Yeah, so that's nice. This text down here is nice, you know, like this swipey up thing, that's pretty. All good. The gift of feedback. All right, well, take care, everyone. I'll upload all of these videos for this challenge onto the YouTube as well. So have a great week, everyone. I'm going to say bye for now. Take care, and thanks everyone for tuning in. And say bye to Frankie. Oh, can I share the source code? Yeah, absolutely. So I'll check it in a second. It's available on GitHub there, and the actual challenge itself is there. So if you want to do some pull requests so that you can refactor it later, refactor stuff, feel free. All right. Bye for now.
Today we're gonna code lots with Mr. Kim Phil Potts, and oh, how amazing you'll